Olight has a new light on the market, the Seeker 2 Pro. It uses a triple LED with an optic here that you can see and a proprietary 21700 battery. It has a magnetic tail cap with a magnetic recharging system. Along with this light, Olight has included and announced a magnetic L bracket to mount this light to for easy charging of any magnetic tail cap rechargeable Olight. Thanks to Skybin on Amazon for sending this to me to take a look at. So here is the packaging that the light comes in. It's a really impressive package at this price range. Olight always seems to does a nice job with this. On the front, you've got the light itself. You've got the stat that it throws 250 yards, 3200 lumens. On the back, you've got more features, statistics, and then the specification chart. What's neat here is this is a magnetic box, and when you open it up here, it kind of shows new level experience, Seeker 2. You've got kind of this instruction sheet on here that shows you you've got to remove the clear plastic piece on the battery, and then how to charge it up. Inside here, you get all the different accessories that the light includes. Included accessories include the flashlight itself, which I've got here in the holster, along with the proprietary Olight 5000 mAh 21700 battery. You get a really long MCC 1AL charger. This is roughly 4 feet long. That holster is really similar to the one the M2R came in. They're pretty much identical and interchangeable. The only difference I could find is the new light here doesn't have that grommet on it, but it's a nice holster. You get a lens cleaning cloth here, which is kind of nice. You can use it on your flashlight, but other things as well. Then you get the new L dock here, and it's designed to be mounted onto a wall or something like that, or maybe in the center console of a car. And it's got 2 screw holes here. It's also got an adhesive strip there. And this works really simply. I've got my Olight Warrior X here, and it just attaches at the top there, and then your MCC charger just slaps on top there. Really simple, really easy. It's strong with the other charger there. It's plenty enough to hold the heavy Warrior X upright, as you can see here. When I get back out the Seeker 2, it'll hold it flat out like this as well. So to complete that package, you get some little adhesive cable management ties. You get an extra piece of adhesive here, and 2 screws and 2 drywall anchors. This light is made from aluminum, it's hard anodized black with an eggshell finish on there. It's not gloss, it's not flat, kind of somewhere in between. Machining on here is really excellent, with no sharp edges or tool marks to be found anywhere. If we start at the tail, we see where the recharging point is here. This is flat with that center point recessed a bit. I did do the test with my multimeter to see if there was live current here, and Olight's reduced that significantly. That flat bottom means the light tail stands really nicely. The knurling around the tail strap here is flat and not crosshatch, and very fine. What I found is this will attract dirt and dust really easily, and it's a little bit hard to get out. A toothbrush or something like that helps it out. Then you've got here where the lanyard is, so you'll need a very thin lanyard, and the light does not come with a lanyard. Looking inside the tail cap here, we can see the design's a little bit different here. There's no spring, just a center brass contact there, and some other rings. I think part of that's to hold that magnet in, and then that these 2 itty-bitty little brass contacts are what do the negative charging for, or the negative side of the connection for charging, or the recharging system. There's really no give in here. That center contact moves just a wee little bit, but other than that, nothing. Here are the threads. They are square cut, but evenly spaced apart, pretty substantial amount there. That makes threading on this thing really easy, and I had no problems trying to cross thread it or get it on or anything. It threads real nice. While I have the light apart, here is the battery it comes with. It is this Olight 21700 battery, 5000 milliamp hours for high drain devices. All this is great. What's not so great here is it's proprietary. This is no big surprise. All Olights really have done this with the magnetic recharging system. It's so they can put the positive and the negative on one side of the battery for the recharging system. This is a button top cell, and there is a little plastic ring on here for a little bit of added safety. The body tube and head here are one continuous piece of aluminum. From what I can see here, they don't come apart, and I can't really find a seam. The big difference here on the Seeker 2 versus the older R50 that I have here is, whereas the R50 has some square machined knurling in there, the new Seeker 2 has this kind of silicon rubberized grip surface here and little finger grooves molded in. It seems to be stuck on with adhesive and really well stuck on, so I don't think there'll be any problem of this rubber grip coming off. The other thing I like is here on the opposite side, it's round. Now you've got your plus and your minus, no big deal there, but on this side it's flat. So if you're in the dark, you can easily orient this light and know where the button is just by feeling that flat. It's a nice little design feature that's useful. The finger grooves here don't fit my fingers real well. This just isn't a super comfortable position for me. I kind of want the button up here in this length of light, or if I choke down, my fingers want to naturally fit more like here. I don't have huge hands, so it may fit better if you have bigger hands, but I have the feeling it's going to fit a little bit worse. Either way, it's not a bad light, or not a bad grip. These finger grooves are so small, even if you're not in them, it doesn't really matter. I'll talk about the button here in a minute, and you can see some machining here, and all ends up being pretty nice. Interestingly, inside there's no spring at the head side. It's just a raised structure that the battery sits on. It looks almost like a solid brass cone. On one side, there's a very small amount of give in that tail cap, as I saw before. There's no rattle or play, and if I drop the light when it's on the table, we've seen some lights go off. This light doesn't do that. So the head section here has two milling areas, and around the head here, a little bit bigger here around the button, a little bit smaller as the size increases. The Seeker 2 adopts the switch from the X9R that was before it. It's got a 4-step LEDs on the inside here for power level and then for light level. And it works really neat here. Let's see if I can get it to show on video, and it does show on video nicely there. You can see I've got full power because I've got 4 LEDs, and then it was 1 because I was on the lowest mode. Now, these only go on for about 4 or 5 seconds and then go off. Visually, I think it's a really neat design, apart from the PWM that I can see in these LEDs when I've got it, and I know that doesn't show on camera very well. These lights stay on for about 8 seconds or so when a button's pressed, and they're pretty neat because they progress up the head of the light. So they count up and then count down, as you can see here, that kind of slowly fade in and out. It's just a nice little touch. The very head of the light here, it does have a crenulated bezel, but it's a very shallow crenulation. I think this is more for style than function, definitely. A little bit of light does leak out. If I put it on turbo here, you can see just maybe a little bit leaking out here. Maybe that's too hard to see. Again, not super functional, just more aesthetics. Then you've got the optic in there, that TIR style optic. Does a nice job with those 3 different emitters. As we saw a little bit earlier, the light comes with Olight's first 21700 battery, and it is proprietary. As with the other Olight magnetic rechargeable lights, the cell goes in with a positive end facing the tail of the light. How they do this recharging, that's how they do the recharging, with the positive and the negative end both in the tail. The new Seeker 2 Pro is a replacement for the old R50 here, which I have. Good light, it's not that old, but here they are side by side. I've got some numbers in here. I'll just read them and compare the two. So the Seeker 2 is 128 millimeters in length versus the R50's 133. Minimum diameter is 27 versus 32. Maximum diameter is 35 millimeters versus 42. And weight with the included battery is 197 grams versus 258. So as you can see here, the Seeker 2 Pro is smaller in all dimensions, but it's not an enormous difference. The largest difference is in the head here. And if you can see that side by side, it's really apparent. The the new Seeker 2 actually fits inside the head of the old R50. In the hand, you can definitely feel the difference of these two lights. The Seeker 2 is just smaller. For me, it's nicer to grab as well, although I do kind of like that R50's length just a little bit better. The weight difference is probably the most apparent. It's roughly 50 grams, and you can feel that. I've got a few pictures here next to other recent Olights that I'll insert as well. So the Seeker 2 Pro is using the Cree XPL HD LED in cool white. Olight doesn't give an official tint number, but in mine, I guess it's between 5,000 and 6,000 Kelvin. It is using a triple LED combination with a TIR style optic, which, as far as I can tell, is a first for an EDC style light from Olight. With that TIR style optic, the beam is pretty smooth and floody. It's not perfect, and at close distances you can see the three emitters, but as soon as you go over just a few feet, that all blends in and it just looks like a flood. And that TIR optic does a good job of hiding any obvious Cree rainbow, which isn't always the case with bigger LEDs. So the lumen rating on this light Moonlight is 5 lumens. And just a comment on that, that's quite high for Moonlight mode. Typically Moonlight mode is 1 lumen or less, and Olight typically has done a good job with this, with the Seeker 2 being the exception. Low is 50 lumens, medium is 300 lumens, high is 1200 lumens, and then once step down happens 600, and turbo is 3200 lumens with step down being 600 lumens. Here is the Olight Seeker 2, and this is Moonlight mode, about 5 lumens. And this is what it looks like to the eye here, pretty close. Bumping up here is low, and as I pan up, you can see it doesn't throw super far, but not too bad here. This is about 50 lumens, which is pretty high for low. Bumping up here is medium, 300 lumens. This is a pretty good general purpose beam, I feel like. This throws out to maybe 50 feet, no problem, a little bit further. You can see the general profile of the beam as well. You can see the triple here. It's not perfectly round, but it does a fairly good job of trying to be round. This is high, 1200 lumens. This is sustained for quite a while. It does step down here to 600 lumens after a bit as it heats up. And here is the full turbo, 3200 lumens. This is a cool white beam, but it's not as cool as some other Olights has been. It does a decent job here of rendering the green of the grass, and does a nice job of going out to the edge here. It's a floodier beam when I compare it to the old R50 Pro. So here is the old Olight R50 Pro. This is medium mode, about 600 lumens, I think. You can see it is a tighter beam. It doesn't have as much spill to it. And there is turbo, and you can really kind of see that on turbo. It's a bit more spotty. Tint between the two are fairly similar. Here is the Seeker 2, and here is the R50. R50 is probably just a little bit cooler, and it is a spottier beam. The new Seeker Pro is more of a flood, but has that kind of blended hot center. And the new Seeker Pro 2 does have strobe as well. Here are the buttons on the new Seeker Pro 2. And you can see it kind of counts down there. If I push it again, you can see it counts up, shows the battery power, and then you can show what mode I've got it on. I've got it on turbo there. And just kind of a neat look there at the indicators there and what it does. So for my runtime, I plugged this into my equipment and let her run. Turbo's 3200 lumens only lasted for 2 minutes, and then the light decreased to 600 lumens for over 100 minutes. One more major step down came at 105 minutes of runtime, which lasted for another 50 minutes before the light stopped in its output due to low voltage protection. Total runtime was right at 145 minutes. Temps were well controlled during my uncooled runtime test. Maximum temperature I saw was 45°C, kind of in the button range here. And the silicone grips also provide a little bit of thermal insulation as well on the light, even though 45°C isn't that hot. UI on this light is pretty standard from what we've seen from other Olights, and that's great because it's a simple UI and I like it. From off, you can long press the button and you get the moonlight mode. Once the light comes on in normal mode here, you just long press and the light cycles through the different brightness levels and you stop on which one you want to be on. Double click gets you to turbo, triple click gets you to strobe. The light does have memory, so it remembers where you were last. That does not apply for turbo and strobe. The light also features lockout mode and timer modes that are available. Honestly, I rarely use these instead I like mechanically lock out a light. You just crack the tail cap ever so slightly. The light is mechanically locked out. It still has a nice water protection and there's no possible way that it'll come on when it's mechanically locked out. So recharging is done with Olight's new MCC 1AL charger, and the Seeker 2 does come with about a 4.5 foot cable, and as you can saw there, you just have to get it close to the tail cap there and it just automatically snaps on magnetically. The light here goes red when charging, green when charged, and it's that simple. I observed a maximum of 0.9 amps, which resulted in a fairly long charge time for the 5,000 milliamp hour 2100/700 battery. That was 6.5 hours. This is a conservative charging speed for such a large cell, good for the overall lifespan of the cell if you can wait. As mentioned earlier, Olight includes the new L dock, and I really like this. It's simple, it's easy, and the magnet on here is pretty strong. It doesn't have quite enough power to hold the light of the weight if you're vertical, so they recommend you hang the light basically, which is pretty cool. I'll insert some pictures here of that. You can also put it in upside down, but it comes with 3M tape here where you can stick it on the side of your wall, or it's got screw mounts here and includes screws and drywall anchors to screw it onto your wall or furniture or whatever you're going to do. But it's basically, it just transfers power on there. Really neat, really simple design, really cool. Better yet, Olight is selling these separately, or if you have a 3D printer, I bet you could whip up one of these in your afternoon. And as mentioned before, this works with other Olights as well. I've got a Warrior X here. It snaps on and charges as well, and it's strong enough to hold its heavy weight as well. So it works with all your Olights except the smaller weapon lights because of their polarity differences. So the pros for me are, it's nice to see 21700 sized batteries continue to enter the more mainstream market. They're the highest energy density form factors battery currently on the market. So what that means is it's the smallest battery with the most amount of energy that you can buy. The battery choice allows for a light that's more slim in all dimensions. I like that. I like that the light has the new X9R style button for output levels and battery levels at an affordable price, unlike the X9R. Less Cree-rainbow than the R50's XHP70 LED, and it's got a pretty smooth, even floody beam pattern. And I love this L charging bracket that's compatible with older lights as well. The cons are, it uses a proprietary battery that is more costly when it comes to time to needing a replacement. Currently, that cost is unknown for a replacement battery because they're just not available on the market. It's not a substantial upgrade in terms of performance over the R50. I do like the increased runtime and smaller size though. Currently, there's only cool white and non-high CRI LEDs being offered. That's kind of Olight's MO, but I wish and hope they will change that long term. And as I mentioned, it's a relatively long charge time for the 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and it's a bit on the expensive side, I feel like. For my conclusion, I feel like the Olight Seeker 2 Pro is an incremental upgrade over the R50 Pro that it replaces here. The R50 is a good light. I like it. It's been sitting on my bedside stand just because it's a lot of power and I don't know where else to put it at the moment. The smaller form factor and less weight in the Seeker 2 Pro without reducing performance or runtimes are nice upgrades. I like the new button and external UI options. Performance-wise, it's a nice floody beam, and 3200 lumens is really bright, but with turbo only lasting 2 minutes and it taking such a large drop to 600 lumens on step down, after a bit is a little disappointing. On this price level of light, I'd like to see active thermal regulation and not timed step downs. I'd also be happier with less overall turbo output for longer turbo run times. It's a little disappointing to see that Moonlight is being bumped up here to 5 lumens. Typically it's 1 lumen or less. Olight's proprietary batteries, like other manufacturers' branded cells, tend to be pretty expensive. And while I love the 21700 format, its proprietary nature and cost ends up being a negative for me. Luckily, you should be able to use a standard button top 21700 with a small magnet if you need a little bit of length, or a 2700, maybe 2 magnets. You can make it work for a second battery if you want, as long as you go in knowing that you won't be able to use the cool L bracket to charge it. That's kind of a big thing on this light, so at least you know that going in after you've seen this video. Overall, it's a very capable light that I think people who get one will be very happy with, as long as they know about those few cons. I can recommend this light with some reservations. As always, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and please check the description. If I have any coupons or anything, I'll put it there, and I'll put a link to Patreon as well, as I think I'm starting one of those here soon. If you've got any comments, make sure you leave those in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching.